State Fullerton has done it. They've gone from 15-16 to champions of college baseball.
Welcome to the 1,544 Miles to Omaha podcast, talking about the past, present, and future of Cal State Fullerton baseball.
Pitch. He's swinging. There's a high drive to right field. He has done it. Scott Hurst has hit his fourth home run of the game. Wow, what else can he do? Oh my goodness.
That's going to get a run home. Andrews will score easily. Pill is on his way to third without a throw.
And Cal State Fullerton wins it.
Here's your host, Dave Lamm.
Welcome into episode 75 of the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast. Normally we would be doing this podcast via Twitter Spaces, but unfortunately we had a little bit of technical difficulties and it was more scheduling than anything. Two very busy people couldn't align their schedules on time, so we apologize to those that tuned in on Twitter for the Twitter Spaces, and unfortunately we're not able to listen in. But my name is Dave Lamm. I am the founder, editor-in-chief of CalStateOmaha.com and the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast, and joining me as he does every week is the All-American Mike Parisi. We're talking today, recapping the we're going to be previewing the UC Santa Barbara series upcoming this coming weekend, and then also we'll be recapping the University of Hawai'i series that the Titans came out of there winning on Friday, losing on Saturday, but then obviously in a walk-off dramatic win on Sunday. So, Mike, welcome into the show. And what are your initial thoughts coming out of Hawai'i weekend?
If you were going to tell me all three starting pitchers, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're not going to have good starts, and you're going to get out of there with 2 wins, I wouldn't believe you. But I think that's what took place this weekend, and Fullerton showed they were pretty resilient, and they weren't going to quit.
Well, the two wins were credited to the closer, essentially, back end of the bullpen guy, Jojo Ingracia. So Jojo came away with the 2 wins. He was credited with the 2 wins. He actually had himself a pretty nice couple of days coming away with the 2 wins. Let me take a look at it. I've got his stats here.
He was lights out on Friday, and he did a great job on Sunday.
Yeah, so on Friday he went 1 2/3, had no earned runs, 2 strikeouts, got the win. And then on Sunday he went full 3 innings. So for the total over the course of the weekend, he went 4 2/3, but he went 3 innings on Sunday, gave up 4 hits. Unfortunately, he gave up 1 earned run. That was a home run, solo home run. Walked 1, struck out 4, and then came away with another win. So, he's I'm not going to give anything away, but he's going to be the Cal State Omaha pitcher of the week for sure, just because he had that 1.93 ERA over the course of 4 2/3 innings.
Yeah, he's been consistent. He's been solid, and it's a great role for him right now. And in that back end of the bullpen, I mean, those last 4 innings on Sunday, in my opinion, is the reason they got the win, because they gave him a chance to get back in the game. And, Fullerton came back, they were down 5-1 in the first game, and they come back and win the game 1. So, that's pretty impressive. And Maddox Lotta, I think he had about 7 hits over the weekend. So I would think he has to be hitter of the week if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, Maddox didn't he was 7 for 15, and he had a 470 average. But I'm pretty confident that the Twitter voters are going to give it to Nate Nankill, who was 6 for 12, had a home run, and then also he had that huge sacrifice fly that kept them in the game on Sunday to extend it into extras. But he was batting 500 for the weekend. So I think Nate's going to come away with it. And this is something I'm going to hit on the column on Thursday. And I'm sure the folks are going to be listening to this on Thursday as well, so they can go to CalStateOmaha.com and read the Thursday thoughts. But the hitter of the week, Twitter only allows you 4 options to put people up there. But
Right.
It was really, really tough because there were 4 guys that were hitting over 400 for the weekend. Caden Connor hit 440. Nate Nankill, 500. Let's see, Maddox Lotta, 470. And then, of course, Carter White, who we all know is just absolutely killing it, hit 460. But then other dudes like Max Ortega, he hit 330. Jack Haley was at 270. Brendan Bobo, who obviously had that walk-off home run, and dramatic fashion, we had to put him in the nominee just for being just even though he batted 290, it was really, really tough to bump out somebody that was batting over 400, but we had to include Bobo just because of the dramatic fashion that they won on Sunday. So Titans this weekend, they really hit.
How many hits they have? I think they had 28 and 17. What are you looking at? About 45 hits in 3 games. That's crazy. That's impressive.
Yeah, 45 hits in 125 at-bats. So the team as a total over the course of the weekend against Hawaii batted 360. Scored 29 runs.
Found the way to win 2 games.
Yeah, 29 of those runs, 27 of them were RBIs, and then walked 12. Well, 12 of them walked, 25 strikeouts, but 4 home runs over the course of the series. So we had obviously Nankill and Bobo, but then also Moises Guzman on Friday. He had a home run, and then happy birthday to him. His birthday was on Friday, so he had himself a day. Let me tell you,
good for him.
He went 3 for 5 on Friday, scored 2 runs, had an RBI, and the home run. So good for him.
And on the other side of it, if you would have told me Cal State Fullerton is going to give up 31 runs to Hawaii, I don't think they're going to win the series. So I'm sure there's a lot of gray hairs going on with that coaching staff. Jason Dietrich made a comment to me Sunday night. He's like, that Sunday game took a lot out of them, but hey, they came away with the win, and that's what their goal was.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if you're going to sit in the big chair, you're probably going to have a few sleepless nights when it comes to that kind of stuff. But your heart's racing, and you gotta be able to put it aside and move on.
Right. But they're 7-2 in conference. They're 14-9. They got to be happy with where they stand going into the Santa Barbara weekend.
One of the things that I wanted to also talk to you a little bit about is you mentioned that had you been told, hey, the 3 starters aren't going to have their best outings, but we're still going to come away with a 2 out of 3 win. What was your thoughts? Obviously you've got better insight on the pitching staff and the arms. What was your kind of takeaway with what happened with the pitchers this weekend?
I mean, I'm looking at all 3 starters. I see 3 walks, and I see 3 walks. So the free passes, maybe some big hits. That's going to get you in trouble. And I think the first starter, Tyler, he only gave 2 earned runs, so there were some errors behind him as well. Besides, maybe a couple bullpen guys didn't have their best weekend. The other bullpen pitchers have been lights out, and they're just trying to stay in the game. But I don't think we have the dominant starters that are going to give you 7 innings, shutout ball or 1-run ball. I mean, they're going to, hey, here's the ball. I think we left Hinkle in too long. I mean, I see what they were trying to do, but there was a situation where we had the lead, I think, and there was a lefty up, and maybe they should have went to Peyton Jones there, and they waited for some other stuff to happen before they brought him in, and obviously Peyton Jones didn't pitch very well at all either. So, that's the head coach's decision.
Well, you mentioned the Hinkle situation. We were talking about this after, or going into Pepperdine, and then going into Davis, and then going into Hawaii, saying, okay, is this the weekend? Okay, well, he's going to get another start. Okay, is this the weekend? Okay, he's going to get another start. If I have to make a bold prediction, I'm pretty confident that Trevor Hinkle is not going to be getting a start this weekend. I would think that enough rope has been given to the point where it's just, I think his total ERA on the season is still in the 8s. So I don't see it happening.
Right.
I don't have a bat phone. I don't have the red phone into Jason Dietrich's office. So, I don't have any prior knowledge. But if I was a betting man, I would probably say that I think that experiment is over.
I didn't like watching him warmed up. I watched him warm up really closely. He just seemed anxious, maybe a little nervous, maybe putting pressure. He didn't seem relaxed. And he goes out in the game, and I don't know about his slider, his off-speed pitches, or what have you. I know he struck out 6 guys, but falling behind, 9 hits, you're not missing many barrels. The confidence level can't be there. And like you said earlier on, I mean, you get to the 5th inning, you're like, this is where he gets in trouble. And he couldn't get out of the 5th again. So you might be right. They might be going to somebody else. I don't know who they're going to go to. Jason Blood's been struggling those last couple outings as well. Peyton Jones wasn't very good last game, and Seth Tomczak wasn't very good. I don't know who their starter would be. I think they're going to go after Friday with Tyler Stoltz, who deserves to be the Friday guy, and go from there.
Yeah, I think Tyler obviously has earned himself. I mean, I don't think last Friday was any kind of a indicator that it's like, oh my gosh, we got to hit the panic button on Tyler Stoltz. I mean, everybody's going to have bad outings, and even though I wouldn't even say that Tyler's outing on Friday was all that bad. It was 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks. So he came out of that game with a 3.60 ERA for just that game. So I honestly think there's.
That's not a bad start, but it's not a great start. I mean, plus you're coming out, your team's down 5-1, so you didn't give yourself a quality start, and you didn't give yourself, the time you came out of the game, your team really wasn't in the game. They had to come back, which was great. Showed their resilience again, and Finn Chester did his job to keep you in the game, and obviously Jojo Ingracia. But Tyler Stoltz is fine. He's solid. I expect him to get the ball every single weekend the rest of this year, and hopefully in the postseason. Saturday, flip a coin right now, and I think you give Evan Yates another start on Sunday.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just, and this is kind of a funky week in the fact that because of Easter Sunday, the Friday is pushed to Thursday. Saturday is pushed to Friday, and then the Sunday is going to be on Saturday. So you're kind of moving everything up, and that means bullpens are being moved up and people are being moved around. So I'm pretty sure that those decisions on who's going to pitch on the weekend has already been made, because you got to have guys pitch in their bullpens a couple of days prior. So it's probably already been decided. I mean, some people are saying that obviously Stoltz is going to get the Thursday, and then the Saturday, Henkel could get moved off of that one. Maybe you move Evan Yates up to the Saturday, or this week it's going to be Friday, and then maybe try to have Chester go on Sunday, because that's what they did at the end of the season last year. It was Stoltz on Friday, Yates on Saturday, and then Chester on Sunday. And I know that they like having Chester come out kind of late in games and do that, but he's shown that he can go deep. I think he had like a 79-pitch shutout against Long Beach State. So it's not like he can't start, and it's not like he can't go deep. So, it just depends on how he's been utilized for the season. So who knows? I mean, it's going to be one of those things. Probably have to go to the game notes.
I don't disagree with you at all, but I know taking him from his role, because you get him two outings in the weekend, and those are valuable innings late in the game. So you're losing a quality guy late in the game, which has been the bread and butter lately. But yeah, they might need to make a change. They could try it. I mean, Santa Barbara, if you're going to win conference here, this is a big weekend, because obviously you're going against a team that's been dominating the Big West for a while. So this is a huge weekend. If they get out of this thing 2-3, that's awesome. If they get out of it with 1 win, it's not that bad. I mean, it's not awful. They're still in it, but they just can't get swept. So we'll see.
Right, and I was gonna hit on a couple points here. Is that for the first time in a long time, and I didn't have the time to be able to go back and research it, but the Titans are ranked 21st in collegiate baseball polls. Collegiate baseball's poll came out, and I don't remember the last time the Titans were ranked in a top 25 or a top 30 poll, whether it be D1 or the coaches poll or whatever it happens to be. I think you probably have to go back to 2019, probably, and I'm just guessing right off the top of my head. It was probably before that James Madison series, that turned out pretty disastrously in 2019. I think they very well may have been kind of riding a little bit of the spectacular finish in 2018, going to the Supers and losing in Game 3 to Washington. That they might have been preseason ranked, and that JMU series was relatively early in the season. So they probably might have still been ranked by a few polls, but after that JMU series, I'm pretty sure that they had dropped out. And then from that point on, I don't think that they've ever made it into any kind of a poll whatsoever. So being back and ranked is kind of nice. And I know that 11.7, the podcast 11.7, they put out what they call a midweek power rankings poll, and they ranked Santa Barbara number 7. And the Titans are actually ranked number 16 in the mid-majors. So what they do is they get rid of all the other Power 5 schools, the Big Ten and well, maybe the Big Ten is still in there because they're not really super. But the ACC, the SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, they kick them out, and then they only rank schools like East Carolina and Campbell and those types, and Fullerton fits that mold because they don't have that big conference. So that's nice. Ranked 16th and their power rankings, and then 21 in the collegiate baseball poll. So as a player, how important was it to you or to the team to be ranked? And I know we're kind of comparing apples to oranges in the fact that the 92, 93, 94 teams that you played on were 2 out of those 3 teams went to Omaha. So obviously being ranked in the polls was probably a big deal, but what do you think it is for this team to finally be kind of back on the map and be ranked a little bit?
Well, I think it's great for this team. I think they got to be excited, especially with it being such an SEC-dominated, sport right now in college baseball. Right, all these SEC teams just dominate the rankings, and you get the Texases and TCU's, Oklahoma's, all that stuff. But when we played, it wasn't as dominated by the SEC as it is now, and we always expected to be in the top 10, or we always looked forward to the rankings on Mondays and see where we were. And I remember one time we were ranked number 2 in the nation in '93, and we got hit getting swept by Long Beach, so that was rough. But there's definitely expectations, but for them to be ranked and even being talked about, it's great. It could change quickly, especially after this weekend. So I don't want it to be short-lived. Hey, they got in the top 25, and all of a sudden they're getting swept by Santa Barbara, and we're not talking about rankings anymore.
Also true. Yeah, so that leads us a nice transition into previewing of Santa Barbara. Obviously, this is a huge weekend for the Titans and for the Gauchos, because obviously whoever comes out winning 2 out of 3 or even sweeping on this one is going to be in the driver's seat in the Big West, because obviously they're going to have tiebreaker, and they're essentially going to have a leg up on the competition out there. Now, Santa Barbara is kind of scuffling a little bit, because I think their Friday night starter, his name is, I believe it's Mike Gutierrez. He was lights out for them last year, to the point where he had, let me see here, he was 10-1 with a 3.19 ERA all last season. And he did not play, he did not start this past weekend. So Santa Barbara had their non-conference weekend where they played Fresno, and they actually dropped 2 or 3 up there in Fresno. I saw that. So with Gutierrez, he's 3-1, and he's got a 1.62 ERA and 6 starts already. But his shortest outing came against Northridge, where he only went 4 innings, and then he was replaced in the top of the 5th when they were still leading 2-1. And it's rather uncharacteristic for him, because his previous outings, he went 5, 5 1/3, 5, 7, and then 7. So leaving in the 4th, while leading 2-1, you'd wonder, did Andrew Checkins come out there and be like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, hey, I don't know. I mean, I'm not even going to speculate what he would say. Hey, this is hurting, or this is sore, or this doesn't feel right, or whatever happens to be. But lifting him after the fourth while in the lead when he hadn't gone that short, and then he doesn't pitch at all against Fresno. So who knows? Was it
Something was wrong with his arm, 100%. I mean, you're not yanking a 10-game winner up 2-1 in the fourth or the fifth, So he had some type of twinge in his arm. Who knows what it was? Maybe it's tendonitis. Maybe it's something else. You never wish bad for a kid's arm, but that's not a good sign, especially if you didn't start that week. But maybe let's take a week off. Let's get rested and well rested for Cal State Fullerton and get you back on track and maybe even have a pitch count. Who knows? So we'll find out.
If he was potentially feeling something, it's like, okay, well, the non-conference against Fresno State doesn't matter as much as it does next week against Cal State Fullerton. So yeah, let's have you rest it and then see how it feels the following week and see if you can go against Cal State Fullerton. But I think that's the big question mark because, that guy's been lights out last year and earlier this year all the way up until that Northridge game. So, who knows?
How have they been offensively? I mean, they can't be any better than what Cal State Fullerton's doing right now offensively.
So the strength in doing the research for the column, and then obviously in anticipation for talking about this, the Gauchos go as their arms go, to the point where they're leading a ton of the categories on the mound in the Big West, to the point where they lead they lead pitching categories, including team ERA, that's 3.54. They've only given up 87 earned runs. That's best in the Big West. Fewest home runs at 13. They haven't hit very many batters. They've only hit 19. So if the Titans are expecting to have some success, it's not going to come from the pitching staff. They're just definitely going to make them earn it. It's not one of those things where they're just going to make mistakes and put guys on by hitting them or walking them or all that kind of stuff. So the Titans are definitely going to have to earn it against it. Now, offensively, they rank kind of the middle of the road in the conference in most categories. They've got a .274 team batting average that ranks 6th in the Big West. They do hit the long ball pretty well. They do lead the conference with 43 over the fence. So, I think they look at it from the standpoint, but also when they're not hitting the ball out of the ballpark, they're striking out. So they lead the conference in punch-outs, and that's been about 226 times. So they hit the long ball well, but at the same time they're striking out.
Yeah, they're striking out. Yeah, sounds like an MLB hitter.
Right.
We're not getting cheated at the plate. We're going to swing with 2 strikes.
Yeah, I think they're swinging hard and they're trying to elevate, and if not, they're walking back to the dugout with their bat in their hand. So, if we have some strikeouts, that might be the case, but definitely the pitchers are going to have to keep the ball down for sure, because you don't want to elevate against these guys, because if you get something elevated in the zone, it's going to leave.
Well, that goes back to let's eliminate these free passes. Eliminate the free passes. Solo home runs are not going to beat you. You've got to have solid catching, which we do have. I like that we started Max Ortega on Saturday. Coleman coming off at an 0 for 5, 4 punch-out offensive day on Friday, but you still need his defense, and so we'll see what they do behind the plate. But I think they're going to do what they did against Hawai'i and let Cole start the Friday, Sunday, and let Max Ortega get a game in there.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought that was nice, getting the freshman a little bit of extra PT behind the plate, and then obviously he hit a home run. So offensively, he's not a liability in the fact that you give Cole a little bit of a break, and then you don't have that drop off on the offense when it comes to putting in Max Ortega. So it's kind of a yin and a yang. You get a little bit extra offense with Max, but the defense quite isn't what Cole Ehrman is. But again, who is? And when you have Cole back there, you get a lot more defense, but the offense isn't quite the level of what the freshman brings to the table. So it's nice. I guess it's a nice compliment to keep those guys fresh.
Right. One of the coaches, or he's one of I don't know what his title is, but Mike Sape, who helps out with the program, he pitched at USD. He was on my Cape Cod team. He says that Ortega's dad was his catcher the year before out of Santa Clara in the Cape. And his dad coaches over at St. Mary's, which is we've talked about that before. So it's definitely a catching family.
Oh yeah, I mean, keep it in the family for sure. I like that. So
Yep.
we've previewed a little bit. We recapped Hawai'i. Anything else before? And you've kind of, I don't know, you've kind of set the tone here, Mike, in the fact that you've made some pretty good bold predictions on whether it's going to be a series win or if it's going to be a sweep. I mean, you've been nails for the past what? When did you start predicting these things? Before the Pepperdine series, or was it with the Davis?
I mean,
series?
I said we were going to win the Pepperdine series, and we did 2 out of 3. I predicted that. I predicted a sweep in Davis, and I predicted 2 out of 3 in Hawai'i, and that wasn't easy. But I've been right so far. This weekend, boy, I'm praying and rooting for 2 out of 3 Fullerton. Fullerton's not going to sweep them, but it's going to come down to Friday. If we don't take care of business Friday, we're not going to win the series. If we take care of business Friday, we have a shot. So it's going to come down to Friday. We have to. I'm sorry, I take it back. We're starting Thursday. We got to take care of business tomorrow, and if we don't, we might be in trouble this weekend. So not to put any pressure on the team or Tyler, but tomorrow is a huge game for the series.
Yeah, I would agree. It's and that will probably be a nice tone setter. But I think we mentioned this in the past couple Twitter spaces, in the fact that without looking too far ahead in the series or in the season, it's nice that this Santa Barbara series is at home. So it seems like the really, really tough series are, with the exception of UC Irvine, the tough series we get at home, to the point where you're going to get Long Beach at home this year. You got Santa Barbara at home this year. Hawai'i was no gimme. And so I think some of those road games are going to be a little bit what you would anticipate. The Davises of the world, the Cal State Bakersfields,
right? Riverside,
the UC Riversides. Those are all on the road. So the ones that you would really expect to be able to win are not necessarily gimmies that you get at home. It's going to be on the road, but at the same time. So I think the Titans are sitting in a pretty good spot. I think hopefully the emotion of the walk-off, well, actually 2 walk-offs, because you had the walk-off on Friday with Jack Haley,
right,
with that RBI single, and then obviously the 2 RBI nuke that Brendan Bobo launched on Sunday in extras. Hopefully that emotionality and that confidence will ride all the way until Thursday, and then they take the field that way. But
they're going to have the confidence. They're a confident group right now. There's not a lot of players out there that are down themselves, except for maybe that Saturday guy, unfortunately, which I continue to still pull for him. But who knows? You only pull for him for so long. There's time you're going to have to make a change. But it's a big game tomorrow. They're going to be excited. They got to play well. They got to play good defense. And they got to stay away from the walks and the big innings. So we'll see how it plays out.
Thanks for listening to the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast. Feel free to visit our website, CalStateOmaha.com. While there, you can order an official Cal State Omaha t-shirt from the merch store. Make sure to view the show notes to learn more about today's guest and to follow them on social media. The 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast is an On the Lam Enterprises production and is not affiliated with Cal State Fullerton or Titan Baseball.